Hello, and welcome to the Envision National Youth Leadership Forum Law and CSI Post-Enrollment Webinar. You will find this webinar most helpful if you have already enrolled your student in NYLF Law and CSI for the summer. My name is Danielle Thomas, and I'm the Program Manager for the NYLF Law and CSI program. I have been working programs for Envision since 2009. I'm thrilled to be a part of the Envision team, providing the best experiences for your students this summer. First off, we would like to welcome you and your student to the 2019 Law and CSI program. The webinar is equipped with a dashboard to the right of your screen. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type and submit them there. We will have a 20-minute content section, followed by a short Q&A based on the questions we received throughout the webinar. Juliana Rowe, Program Coordinator for the Law and CSI Conference, will be monitoring the dashboard. If a pertinent question arises, we will try and answer it right away. Otherwise, we will save all questions until the end. At the end of the webinar, there will also be a quick survey for you to let us know how helpful this was to you. Please be honest in your feedback so we can alter the webinars to better suit you and your scholars' needs. A tidbit of information before we get started. At Envision, we use the term scholar to refer to students. Okay, let's get started. In today's webinar, we will cover topics that we get the most questions about at this point in the process. If you have topics other than these that you'd like to hear about, don't forget to use the dialog box to your right. Write us a note and we'll be sure to follow up. On today's agenda, we will be covering accessing your online information, academic resources, preparing for your program, program highlights, safety and security, important reminders, and contact information. First up, accessing your online information. At this point in the process, you should have already enrolled your scholar and been prompted to create login information. In order to access your scholar's account, you will first need to visit envisionexperience.com. At the top right corner of the homepage, you will see Login. Click on that. A dialog box will appear with two options. Click Enrolled Student. You will then be sent to a page with text boxes to input your login criteria. Enter your email address and password for your scholar account. If you forgot your password, click Forgot Password to begin the recovery process. You will then be taken to a scholar-specific account page. In the top right of the page, you will click on Enrollment Forms and Info. This will load a page that lists all forms available for your scholar. Several items listed on this page are required for attendance at the Law and CSI conference, and/or have deadlines that have to be met in order for us to process that information and have it on file when your scholar arrives on day one. Please pay close attention to the required items and the deadlines. Under the required category header, you will see several forms. The mandatory travel form is required for attendance to the program. This form will have you provide information on how your scholar is getting to the program site and how they will be getting home. There are options for both airport and on-site drop-off. This form is not locked to one submission. After you have filled in the form, should you find the need to make updates or changes, you'll be able to re-access that form and revise it. As you begin to complete items on the enrollment forms and info page, check marks will appear. These check marks indicate you have either completed a form or opened a document. As part of the Law and CSI program, scholars will be asked to complete pre-program assignments. Our program will provide scholars with a unique academic experience that will help develop advanced leadership skills. Before we delve into the summer program learning environment, it is valuable to ascertain each scholar's concept of what leadership means to them and establish strengths and opportunities for growth. With this information, we will be able to provide programming to develop each individual scholar. You'll find the pre-programmed assignments in the category Academic Resources. By clicking on Academic Preparation and Pre-Program Assignments, a PDF document will appear explaining the tasks in more detail. For the Law and CSI Conference, the pre-programmed tasks are Feedback for Understanding Emerging Leaders, also known as FUEL, and PAREN, a social and emotional learning assessment tool. Please note the deadlines for that completion. Under the category Preparing for Your Program, you'll see Roommate Request Application. Sometimes scholars from the same school attend the Law and CSI Conference, and they'd like to be roomed together. If there is someone attending the conference that your scholar would like to room with, please fill out this form. This is optional, but does have a hard deadline for completion. If your scholar needs to make a room request for anything other than being placed with a specific person, please contact our Office of Admissions. Please note that scholars will be placed 3 to a room with double beds and a rollaway bed. I must repeat, there will be a rollaway bed in every room. Linens will be refreshed every day, and scholars will be told to rotate their bed assignments every night. The next item we'd like to point out is the Planning, Travel, and Dress Code Checklist. When you click on the link, it will load a PDF file. Here you will see listed in detail the dress code and packing reminders. The Law and CSI program enjoys an excellent reputation in our communities as a result of our prestigious students. To ensure this is maintained, all scholars are expected to maintain a high standard of appearance. The dress code consists of program attire, which is similar to relaxed professional dress, casual attire, and career attire, which is full professional dress paired with comfortable shoes. Take some time to review the dress code in detail to ensure your scholar is prepared with the proper and enough clothing. Please note that our closing celebration will be a semi-formal dinner dance. Students can wear either semi-formal attire or career attire for this event, and there will be a plated dinner, dance complete with a DJ, and a game room. Other information you'll find in this document: scholar money while they're at the program, and what to bring in their luggage. Our conference has a number of off-site visits where meals will be enjoyed away from the hotel. A good rule of thumb is to bring enough spending money to purchase 1 meal per day. Also in the required section, you will see student information and medical authorization and information forms. These forms are a great place to start to let us know what dietary restrictions your scholar might have. If there's more detail to add beyond filling out this form, please contact our Office of Admissions so we can record those specific accommodations. At the housing site, meals are served buffet style, and all foods will be labeled with their ingredients. There are also vending machines and a gift shop located at the hotel. The Law and CSI program is a nut-free conference. The vending machines and gift shop on site do offer candies with nuts. Scholars will be told not to purchase any of these items for the safety of all scholars and staff at the program. Our dining times are preset by the hotel, so scholars are encouraged to bring snacks in case they get hungry in between our meal times. If you send snacks with your scholar, send nut-free snacks. Given the nature of allergies of both staff and scholars, a staff member will have to confiscate any snacks containing or made with nut products. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to our Office of Admissions to clarify, and we will give that information at the end of the webinar. One last thing in the required section. Included in this list is the Career Experience Selection Form. While all students will participate in the speaking events and site visits, they will spend the entire week with one focus area, either law or crime scene investigation. We will place the scholars in groups for either law or CSI based on this form. Please note the deadline to submit the form on your student portal. After that deadline date, scholars will be randomly assigned to groups. We cannot honor preferences past the deadline, and scholars will be unable to switch groups. Please submit the form by the deadline so your scholar can participate in their desired career experience. Next, let's transition into program and schedule highlights. The Law and CSI program takes place entirely in the Washington, D.C. area. Students and staff will reside at the Westfields Marriott, located in Chantilly, Virginia. Our program is made up of a three-tier curricular approach to experiential learning. The combination of these events contribute to a holistic experience that will build your scholars' leadership skills, provide career experience, and promote collaboration with like-minded peers. Our simulations and seminars are designed to enhance scholar knowledge in a specified area of content. These meetings provide an opportunity to examine leadership or career-specific roles by exchanging ideas, overcoming challenges, and pushing innovation. For the law scholars, they will recreate an actual Supreme Court case and argue for or against the Fourth Amendment. For the CSI scholars, they will role-play detectives, sketch artists, and profilers to assemble a case file on a perpetrator. All scholars will participate in the culminating simulation from crime scene to trial, where they will understand the role that evidence plays in a trial. Along with these hands-on activities and challenges, scholars will also have the opportunity to hear from industry professionals during our speaker sessions. At the end of each session, students will be given the opportunity to ask questions of the speakers. There is also an evening of seminars where scholars will learn about different career fields available in their area of interest directly from professionals in that field. Listed on the slide are the speakers for the conference, including John Douglas, founder of the Behavioral Analysis Unit of the FBI, and author of the book Mindhunter, which has been adapted into a Netflix series currently in its second season. His new book was released this month. And finally, program site visits give scholars an opportunity to explore their interests outside of the program housing site. They're meant to help get them more engaged, intellectually curious, and goal and career focused. The law students will visit a courthouse and hear from law school professionals. The CSI students will hear from a panel of forensic scientists and analyze a simulated crime scene. All scholars will visit George Mason University to get a taste of college life and learn about the admissions process. Scholars will also visit various sites in Washington, D.C., including the U.S. Capitol, the Supreme Court, Smithsonian museums, and national monuments. There are also times where you can see the program in action. On arrival day, the senior staff will host a parent orientation where they will dive into the program schedule in more detail and personally answer any of your questions. We'll also have a commencement ceremony on departure day. Selected students will speak about their experience at the program, and it's a great way to wrap up the week. We encourage parents and friends to attend both of these events. Next up, we'll talk about important safety and security items. The safety and security of our scholars is the #1 priority. We will now go through a number of items to help answer any questions that you might have. Scholars are led through the program and cared for in small groups by trained advisors. These staff members are experienced with students and have undergone extensive training and background checks. Many staff members are educators outside of the summer months and work year-round to provide safe and high-quality experiences for students. During the first group meeting, scholars will take place in a briefing on the policies and procedures of the program. This will include information on who to contact in an emergency, attendance, off-site security procedures, and venue safety protocols. They will also practice the emergency evacuation plan in their first small group meeting. Envision also has several safety processes in place that we teach the scholars and ask them to adhere to throughout the program. All scholars and staff must wear their name badges anytime they are outside of their sleeping room, and staff conduct attendance at every group meeting and anytime they depart a location on the bus. This name badge will also have emergency contact information printed on the back. All students are required to travel with a buddy at all times. Every evening, our scholars are dismissed to their sleeping rooms. Staff will conduct room checks nightly to ensure that all students are in their rooms for the night and distribute any important information for the next day's events. Once room checks are complete, scholars are not permitted to leave their rooms until breakfast the following morning. We also have additional security patrolling the hallways every night to ensure that everyone on the floors are safe. Attendance is taken several times throughout the day, including meals, our small group times, which we call judicial activities meetings, before, during, and after bed, and trips. If there is a missing scholar, we have an emergency protocol that begins to locate the child and return them to the group. The scholar to advisor ratio is 1 to 25. The scholars are monitored all day by their assigned advisors. Outside of the advisor staff, we have a large support staff that also interacts with the scholars and ensures the program is well equipped to provide the best experience ever. Staff rooms are intermixed with scholar rooms on each hallway, and scholars are given an overnight emergency program number to call if they need assistance overnight. If at any point scholars need to leave their room in the middle of the night, they're instructed to contact the overnight scholar experience team member to escort them wherever they need to go. When an incident occurs during the program, our staff spring into action. We will contact you if an incident occurs, either behavioral or medical, with your child, and all incidents are recorded and reported to the program office. You will be involved and informed at every step. We consider an incident to be anything that occurs during the program that affects your scholar and is not prearranged per our itinerary. This includes medical issues, weather impacting the schedule, lost items, or travel disruptions. Incidents may originate on site, or a parent may call into our office with a concern. Our phones are managed 24/7. Every single incident is documented, and follow-up occurs in coordination with on-site staff to resolve. To wrap up before our Q&A, we'll go over some important reminders. These are the 5 reminders to ensure your scholar gets off to a successful start in this summer's Law CSI program. First, make sure that you are booking travel to and from the session location and complete your mandatory travel form located on the student portal. Next, make sure that you complete all the form's requirements. Complete the pre-program assignments, which for our conference is feedback for understanding emerging leaders, also known as FUEL, and PAREN. Remember to submit your career experience form as soon as possible so we can ensure that your scholar gets the correct career experience that they desire. And finally, be ready to embark in the adventure of a lifetime. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Now we'll turn our attention to the questions that have been asked throughout the webinar and the dialog box. If we don't get to your questions today, we'll be sure to follow up with an answer as soon as we can. Thank you for being so active in the chat during the webinar. I see one of the questions that we had is the parent orientation times on our arrival day and exactly what times they are. So our arrival days are always on Sunday in July, and our parent orientation is given 3 times. The first time is at 1:45, the second time is 2:45, and the third time is 3:45. If you are not going to be dropping off your scholar at the hotel, we will also try to post that parent orientation on the student portal so you can be able to still get that important information. If you did want to hear about the closing ceremony, that will always be happening on Fridays on departure day when you're coming to pick up your scholar. That will begin at 9 a.m. and we would love to have you, the rest of your family, and any family friends coming to attend that great experience. I see some people have some questions about the deadline for the career selection experience form. So the career selection experience form deadline does vary depending on when you have enrolled your scholar. Typically, it is 3 weeks after you have enrolled them. However, if it does say that your deadline has been passed when you look into the student portal, we will still accept that. We do want to make sure that we can get every scholar into their preferred experience so they can have the best time at the conference. So if you log into your student portal and see that the deadline has passed, you can still submit that form and we'll be able to try and get them into that desired experience. A couple of questions about the tracks and how we place people. So after the scholars have submitted their career experience selection form and let us know whether they would like to be in a legal track or into the CSI track, they'll be placed in a group of anywhere from 15 to 25 other students that are also in that same career experience. So for example, if a scholar would like to be in the law experience, the rest of the students in their group will also be students that want to learn more about law. So they'll be the ones that will be recreating the Supreme Court case. They'll be visiting the courthouse. Same with the CSI scholars. They'll be the ones that will role play as detectives and profilers throughout the week, and they will be analyzing more of the evidence and trying to see different crime scenes. However, all scholars will be hearing from the same speakers. They will be attending the same major site visits, so they'll all be going to George Mason University. They'll all be going to the different cultural site visits around Washington, D.C. as well. And everyone will be participating in the from crime scene to trial simulation. That is the one where, although the students will be completing the first part of the simulation separately, so the CSI students will be analyzing the evidence in one room, while the law students are writing their legal briefs and getting ready to interview the witnesses. They'll all come together for a mock trial to see exactly how law and CSI interact with each other and how evidence helps to solve crimes. Another question here about if it's possible to get a copy of this presentation. Yes, it is. About a week from today, you will get an email that will show you the link to be able to re-access this webinar. We will also post the link on the student portal. So in case you do need any of this information again, or if you need the contact information for our Office of Admissions, which is currently on this slide, you'll be able to re-access that information. See, there's another question here about the sleeping arrangements. So our conference is held at the Westfields Marriott, so it is in a hotel. As such, when we do have our programs at hotels, we house our scholars 3 to a room. So there'll be 2 regular size beds and a rollaway bed. So although your scholar might be on the rollaway bed for one night, they will not be on that bed for the entirety of the program. So we'll have fresh linens put on the sheets every day. And during room check and at most of our speaking events, our advisors will check to make sure that the scholars are rotating their sleeping arrangements. So everyone has a chance to be able to sleep on a regular bed. And also it's just for safety concerns that we have more than 2 people in that room in case something happens. And it's a bonding experience for the students that are in there. But we will make sure that there are fresh sheets on the beds every day and that the scholars are rotating their sleeping arrangements. We typically do not have any problems with that. If for some reason a scholar does come up to us and say that they have been on that rollaway bed for more than one night, we'll be sure to talk with that room at room check and make sure that they are rotating from then on. The question here about if you can know who your child's roommate is before the program. Unfortunately, due to the fact that these are minors coming to our program, we do not give out the information of any of the scholars to another scholar's parents. So that's something that they will find out at the program. However, when we are making our rooming lists and rooming arrangements, we make sure to room students by gender and also to make sure that they are roomed with people that are of the same age as they are. So we would never, for example, room a 13-year-old student with an 18-year-old student. They'll be roomed with people who are around their age. We try as much as possible as well to make it geographically diverse so that they are exposed to maybe someone from a different place that they had never been before. And we also make sure that there are talking points and fun icebreaker games that they're playing in their room so they'll be able to get to know who else will be staying with them for the duration of the conference. The question here about, again, a track selection. If for some reason a scholar is not placed in the preference that they would like, if they'll be notified of that. Yes, if they have placed their career experience selection form by the deadline, we will make sure that they are put into the group that they like. However, if they do not submit their information by the deadline, or they just don't submit their information at all, then they will be randomly placed into a group. So that's why we really do stress to have you submit that information as soon as possible, because we are still a distance out from any of the sessions starting. If you go on the student portal and the deadline says it has passed for that form, you can still submit it and we will still honor it at this point. So please submit that career experience as soon as you can, because we really don't want your scholar coming to the program wanting to learn about one career, but because they did not submit that information, they're placed into a career that they did not really want to know so much about. So please submit that form as soon as you possibly can. These are great questions. Thank you so much for being active in the chat. So there's a question here about, for scholars coming to the program, if there are any specific subject matters that they should be learning about or should know. So when you go into the student portal and you click on the academic resources header, under the academic preparation document, it does give you some talking points about things that they should be looking forward to from now until the conference. So different current events that they should be paying attention to. Definitely, if they're able to look for any current events that have to do with either forensic science, crimes and investigation, DNA, or legal studies, that would be of much interest, because we're sure that the speakers coming will be talking about some of those current events, so they'll definitely be in the know if that happens. Also, because John Douglas is our big keynote speaker and his book was just released this month, it would be great if they had read any of his books, that they've seen any of the movies that he has inspired, if they've even watched an episode or two of the Mindhunter series on Netflix, because he will be referencing all of those things during the actual speaking event. So if they're just reading the newspaper or going online and reading articles that are either about law or CSI and current topics, those are great talking points that they can be able to ask questions of the speakers that come to the program. Great, so there's one question here about the city adventures that follows our program. So after our program is over on Friday, you may have elected to enroll your scholar in something called City Adventures. So this is a 3-day experience where the scholars will be transferred from our hotel with a different Envision staff. And for those 3 days, there's no curriculum involved. They will just be seeing the sights and sounds of Washington, D.C. So although we do get to go to Washington, D.C. quite a bit during our program, if they want to see more of the city and different places that we're not able to do because of our curriculum and wanting to get these students as informed and doing as many hands-on activities as possible, they can elect to enroll in City Adventures and stay in the Washington, D.C. area for 3 additional days. They'll be staying at a local university, so they'll be staying in a dormitory, and they'll be doing fun cultural things like going to baseball games, going to Chinatown, Georgetown, just different historic neighborhoods and fun places around the DC area. So if you have elected to enroll your scholar in City Adventures, there should be additional information on your student portal about that. You'll also be getting specific emails as well that will give you the schedule of what that will be like. And we will talk briefly about the City Adventures schedule as well during our parent orientation on arrival day. We'll still open it up for any more questions if there's anything else that we haven't talked about. I see here there's a question about flights on arrival day. So if you haven't already booked your travel for your scholar to come to the program on arrival day, our arrival window is between 12:30 and 4:30 on Sundays on our arrival day. Our staff will be at the airport. That's Washington Dulles Airport, so IAD is the airport code. So if you can book your travel to be during that arrival window, that would be the best time. We also very much highly recommend that you opt for our Envision shuttle. You can have some type of public transportation if you'd like your scholar to get from the airport to the housing site on their own. However, if they choose to do the Envision shuttle, we'll have a staff member waiting at baggage claim for them. We'll also wait with them until our private shuttle arrives, and we'll have a staff member riding on that shuttle with them from the airport to the housing site. So they'll be safe and within our care as soon as they arrive at the airport, so we highly recommend that they do that. But you can find our arrival windows and departure windows for flights on the student portal on the housing, registration, and travel form. The same is for our departure day for our flight windows. If your scholar is flying home on our Fridays on departure day, please make sure that they are booking their flights to leave post 1 p.m. 1 p.m. is the cutoff time because we do want to make sure that we get them to the airport at least 2 hours prior to their flight departure time, just to help them with getting their ticket, as well as getting their security and finding their gate, and not wanting them to be rushing and possibly missing that flight. So if they are flying home on departure day, please make sure that their flights are departing the airport after 1 p.m. on departure day. Okay, there's a great question here about the tracks and if there would be any crossover between both law and CSI. So although we do place students within the track that they're most interested in, so either law or crime scene investigation, there are several times where those fields will be crossing over and interacting with each other. So we have 2 separate simulations. There's one that's just for CSI scholars. At the same time, there's one that's just for law scholars happening. But then we have our biggest simulation, the From Crime Scene to Trial, where you can see how both of them interact together. So that's a great time where you can see the role that the forensic scientists and all of the police detectives play in helping the attorneys and the justices to try and figure out how to run their trials, as well as our speakers. Although we have speakers that are in fields of law, CSI, criminal profiling, etc., they will always talk about the other side as well. So they will talk about their career in law, but also how CSI plays into their career. Or they'll talk about their career in criminal profiling, but how they use that to help solve crimes. So if you're unsure and you don't know exactly whether you want to pick the law side or the CSI side, we highly recommend that you look on our website and read through those two simulations separately to see if you would be more interested in analyzing evidence and simulating crime scenes, or whether you would most like to recreate Supreme Court cases and visit courthouses and doing mock trials, to see which one of those two would be most interested to you. But always know that no matter what career experience you choose, you will always learn about the other career as well and how they interact and interplay together. So, question here about money needed for meals or souvenirs. So we do recommend that students bring at least money for one meal a day, although most of the meals will be there at the hotel. They'll need spending money in case we do go off-site for any of our meals, as well as if they would like to purchase any souvenirs while we're around. So they might want to purchase some different snacks at the gift shop, or they might want to purchase some college gear while they're at George Mason University, or while we're around Washington, D.C., they just might want to purchase some sweatshirts or other things. So we do typically recommend at least spending money for one meal a day. They can bring that in the form of cash or a credit or debit card, whatever is most comfortable for them to be traveling with. There is an ATM on site at the hotel if they would be bringing a credit card and need to take money out. But it really is whatever you're most comfortable with in terms of the type of spending money that they'll be bringing with them to the program. There's a question here about snacks with nuts. Unfortunately, due to the nature of allergies for scholars and staff, we cannot allow any nut products at our conferences. We do have some students and staff members that have airborne nut allergies, so we just can't risk it, which is why if we do find out scholars have snacks that have nuts in them, they will be confiscated and not given back, because that is something that we just cannot allow. We don't want someone to jeopardize the safety and security of one of our students or staff members as well. And we also talk with the chef in the dining hall at all the locations where we're going to and make sure that there are no nuts or nut products that are going to be available at that time. So, question here about recorders be allowed for seminars or speaking events. So while the speaker is talking to the students, we do not allow scholars to have their phones out. However, while there is the question and answer portion where the scholars are getting up and asking questions to the speakers, that's where the students can take out their phones and take pictures of the speakers. They can be able to record some of the answers to the questions and things like that. However, just due to a lot of the contracts with the speakers and things that they might be saying, as well as the engagement level of our scholars, we want to make sure that their phones and other recording devices are kept hidden away during the actual speaking event itself. And we do have pages in their scholar handbook that they'll be receiving where they can record any of the important notes that are going to be taken during the speaking event. But after the speaker is done and opens it up for question and answers, then they can take out their phones, take pictures of the speaker, as well as do any recording that they might want to do. Thank you again for all of the great questions. We really appreciate it. We want to just make sure we can answer as many of them as possible to make sure that you all feel comfortable sending your scholars to our program. So we will open it up for another couple of questions. If there's anything else that we haven't covered or something we might have but you just weren't able to hear, you want to take some notes on it again, we will allow for our last call for questions now. While you all are writing in the last of your questions, I do want to again emphasize that a lot of the answers to the questions can be found on several forms that are available on the student portal. So please make sure that you're checking the student portal forms, specifically the planning, travel, and dress code checklist, which has a lot of great information, as well as the housing, registration, and travel form as well, which gives you some of the arrival windows and some other important information, as well as our housing site. It's a question here about if we recommend the scholars bring a notebook, paper, pens, things like that with them. Yes, we do recommend that they do bring a notebook of some sort and a writing utensil. However, we will give them a scholar handbook and a pen, as well as a water bottle and a cinch bag when they arrive at the program. There are some note pages that are available in the handbook if they just want to free-form some notes. However, if they do feel more comfortable bringing a small notebook as well, it definitely couldn't hurt, especially if they want to be able to take down any notes that might be great takeaways that they can take home with them, either about our simulations, our speakers, or our site visits. While we're getting our last one or two questions, I'll make a final plug to remember to submit your mandatory travel form as soon as possible to let us know how your scholar will be getting to and from our program, as well as submitting that career selection experience form so we can ensure that your scholar gets to learn the most they can about the career experience they're most interested in. It's a question here about if a scholar is local to the DC area and wants to drive to the program. Scholars can drive to the program. There is free parking. However, when they drive to the program, they must turn in their car keys to our program office when they arrive. And we will keep the keys in our office locked until departure day when we will return those keys to them. That's for their own safety, as well as for us to make sure that they're accounted for and not to take that car off-site while the program is still happening. If someone would like to check themselves out of the program each night and sleep at home and then come back in the morning, they need to let us know as soon as possible by contacting the Office of Admissions. We need to get permission from that scholar's parents, as well as we'll need to have a parent come to the program each night to physically sign them out of the program. And that scholar needs to then come to the office every morning to sign themselves back in. That is something that we don't recommend just because, one, the cost of the housing is already built into your tuition. And two, it's really the great program experience that you get from being able to stay on site, be with your roommates, have that bonding experience. And you're really going to be losing some of that if you're going to be leaving at night and coming back in the morning. You're not getting the full experience as intended. However, if that is something that a scholar would like to have as an option, they need to contact our admissions department, and we'll work with them and the parents to make sure that we can come to a resolution. I think that's the last question that we've seen so far. So I'll thank you again for just being so active in our chat. And if you need to speak to someone about anything we talked about today, or if there was another topic that we just didn't touch on, please reach out to our Office of Admissions, and the contact information is listed on this slide. Thank you again for being available to learn more about the Law and CSI program. We are so excited that your scholar is going to be spending 6 terrific days with us this summer. And we look forward to meeting you, meeting your scholars, and providing them with the experience of a lifetime.